Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Thursday, the 22nd. We are excited to present this webinar to the group and are looking forward to the panel discussion as we move through our slides today. Just a quick introduction. I'm Patricia Meyer, and I'm co-hosting today with Greg Miller. We're from the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector. I am the Healthcare Employer Engagement Lead. And we are going to be hosting a panel discussion. Prior to getting to the panel discussion, we're just going to share some information with folks on the call today with regards to apprenticeships in Maryland, and high school apprenticeships. So we'll cover those informational items, head into the panel discussion, and then have Q&A at the end. Today, we have employers like Calvert Internal Medicine, MedStar Shaw, we have Howard Community College, we have the Office of Apprenticeship Training at Maryland Department of Labor, and we also have Tracy Kittle here from MSDE. So really a great group of folks to connect with and learn more about high school apprenticeships and registered apprenticeships in healthcare. If you have questions, just add those to the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat and we'll add them to the Q&A towards the end of our time today. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Greg, and he can give us a sense of what we're all about here at the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector.
Thanks, Patricia, and thanks everybody for joining today. So the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector is an initiative funded by the Maryland State Department of Education. I'm Greg Miller. I'm the Executive Director of Help Tech Alley. We are one of the co-founding entities that comprises MAC, the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector. As you can see on the left, it is comprised of healthcare, construction, and technology sectors, as well as in the middle. We were funded by Department of Education in partnership with them and obviously Department of Labor to advance apprenticeship programming with youth inclusion. Next slide, please. So, very important predicate for the work we have today. Blueprint for Maryland's Future has been approved. It is in law. It sets a standard that 45% of high school graduates by the year 2030-31 will have attained an industry-recognized credential and/or completed or entering an apprenticeship program. It's a very ambitious goal. It is a state leadership program across this country. The Career and Technical Education Committee, sitting within the Governor's Workforce Board, is working on defining high-value industry-recognized credentials. And for those of you that follow the legislative environment, there are a lot of bills being put forward for career pathing, apprenticeship programming, to assure that we have the right infrastructure in place across this state to stay on a path, be on a path that has us toward the blueprint goal of 2030. Next slide. Back to you.
Thank you, Greg. Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that. One of the things that we wanted to do for folks that are not as familiar with apprenticeship is just provide some general definitions. We could spend a whole lot of time talking through this model, but we're just going to cover some regular some standard definitions just to give a level set of terminology that will be potentially coming across today. So in the apprenticeship model, we have employer and employment at the center. Apprenticeship doesn't exist without a job and without an employer supporting an apprentice. Essential components of the apprenticeship model is the on-the-job training. So that's that structured training that prepares employees for career and includes instruction from an experienced mentor. Paired with on-the-job training is our related instruction. It's provided by an employer or a sponsor, partner organization like a community college, an intermediary, or a community-based organization. An essential role for apprenticeship model is a sponsor, and the sponsor can be an employer or it can be another entity that supports the apprenticeship model. That we'll hear something similar to that with Howard Community College today, and they provide jobs to the apprentices, oversees training development, provides hands-on learning and technical instruction for the apprentices. And then another term you might come across as you're learning more about apprenticeships is an intermediary. This isn't a required component to this model, but they can play critical roles in connecting organizations and systems to advance the design and registration and implementation of an apprenticeship. So again, just wanted to give you some basic terminology that we might be coming across today. In addition to apprenticeship structure, we also in Maryland have the youth apprenticeship. It's also called Apprenticeship Maryland program. And that is what we see here on our left side of the screen. So MedStar Shah has been supporting youth apprenticeship, and we'll hear more about their experience in St. Mary's County. Youth apprenticeship, like registered apprenticeship, is a paid experience for students. Here, it's a timed process or a timed system where the youth is engaged in an apprenticeship model through their high school up until they graduate high school. So it's not a requirement that the student continue in that role and into a registered apprenticeship, but it gives them an opportunity to have an experience while in high school in a paid role with an employer. On the other side of our chart here, we have our registered apprenticeship. Again, it's a paid role. This person is part of your team. The entry point for registered apprenticeships tend to be 18 plus, but there is an opportunity with this high school, the Center Bridge, to reach back into high schools and get an individual started in a registered apprenticeship prior to completing high school as part of this system. So again, I'm not going to go into details of how all of this works. We can talk through a little bit of this with our panel, but just wanted to give you a sense of what the model looks like in Maryland with regards to apprenticeships from youth to registered. Another point of information that we wanted to share with the group is a national look at apprenticeship. Overall, you can see here with this red rectangle that in 2021, registered apprenticeships in healthcare settings totaled about 14,000 apprentices. Pales in comparison to what our partners do on the construction side, but also just sort of indicates that opportunity for expansion that I think Maryland is doing so well with regards to exploring how apprenticeship model can be used in healthcare facilities. And then another point of reference we just wanted to share again, this is what we've seen in Maryland happening from youth apprenticeships to registered apprenticeships and throughout the state. On the left-hand side, you'll see the varied occupations that our high school partners are implementing with youth apprenticeships with their employer partners in their regions. And you'll see that it's not just clinical occupations. They've been really creative in creating occupations for youth apprentices in administrative roles, in facility roles, and other non-clinical components, as well as clinical roles like the medical assistant and sterile technician. In the center, you'll see the registered apprenticeships. These are occupations that are already approved in the state of Maryland for apprenticeship. So here we have, again, that medical assistant, LPN, patient care tech, et cetera. Tends to be clinical. We also have a station engineer in there to sort of help facilitate that facilities component to hospital settings. And the reason why we have some occupations in red is we just wanted to show that connectivity between what's happening in high schools and what is already happening in the state of Maryland when it comes to approved occupations for healthcare. And I think you can see that with these occupations that are not listed in red, that there's one, room for expansion to creating more registered apprenticeships, but also providing some food for thought for employers to think about, how do I create that high school pathway that moves from that youth program into a registered apprenticeship, securing your workforce, developing your workforce, and really broadening that ability to have continuity and training from a high school program forward. Okay, so again, lots of information. We just wanted to provide some perspective as to what's happening and what an apprenticeship model looks like. So we're going to transition over to our panel, and I just want to have the folks on our panel introduce themselves. And why don't you tell us your name, your role, your organization, and how long you've been working within an apprenticeship model. And I'll start with our MedStar Shah folks.
I have to remember where the unmute button is. My name is Alan Buster. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of MedStar Shaw Medical Group. We're located in Hollywood, Maryland. This is our first year in the apprenticeship model as such, but we've been hiring from the community for the 50 years the practice has been here. Okay.
I'm Antoinette. I'm the apprenticeship coordinator. I've been involved for about a year. I'm really enjoying working with the young people and seeing how they develop. So yes, so I'm the operational one.
Thank you, Alan and Antoinette. Bonnie, why don't you go ahead next?
My name is Bonnie Kelly. I work with St. Mary's County Public Schools, and part of my position is I am the apprenticeship coordinator. Oh, we have two now. I've been doing this since St. Mary's County Public Schools was approved by DLR in 2019. So I've been doing it for 5 years now, bringing on apprenticeships, students and employers.
Thank you, Bonnie. And then next we have Charlotte Mars from Calvert Internal Medicine. Did she make it to our call today? I can't see everybody.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Wonderful, thank you.
I didn't hit the mute button. I am Charlotte Mars. I'm with Calvert Internal Medicine. I'm the project coordinator for our population health group and the apprenticeship coordinator here. I've been associated with the apprenticeship program since the inception of working with the program. We had our program approved from the state in September of last year, so we're fairly new to the apprenticeship program. However, much like the Shaw Group, Calvert has been in the community for 30 or 40 plus years, hiring in the community, and we're very excited about the apprenticeship program.
Thank you, Charlie. Jeff, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces, so it's great to be here. I am Jeff Richmond. I'm the Director of Apprenticeship and Workforce Innovation at Howard Community College. I myself am fairly new to apprenticeship, a little over 2 years, but no stranger to higher education. But Howard Community College started its registered apprenticeship program in 2018. So excited to share my thoughts with you all this morning.
Thanks, Jeff. And Logan.
Hey, good morning. Thank you all for having me. My name is Logan Dean. I'm Program Manager for Apprenticeship and Training here at the Maryland Department of Labor. Maryland Department of Labor is Maryland's state apprenticeship agency. So we are the agency with delegated authority from the U.S. Department of Labor to register and administer registered apprenticeship programs. And we also co-run the Youth Apprenticeship Program, which is known as AMP, or Apprenticeship Maryland Program, with MSDE. I've been with the department about 2 years now, and we have a wonderful staff of navigators all across the state who help prepare programs for registration and approval. We conduct program reviews, technical assistance, and provide some of the grants that support apprenticeship here in Maryland.
Great. Thank you, Logan. I think 2 years is a sweet spot. I feel like that's the commonality with everybody on the call. So thanks for joining us today. Why don't we start our discussion hearing from our employer panelists on their engagement. I'm going to start with Alan and Antoinette. Can you talk a little bit about the catalyst? What was that catalyst for supporting high school apprenticeships as a model to build that talent pipeline for medical assistants there?
I guess I could really blame it on Bonnie for calling me and telling me about the program. But as in Calvert Internal Medicine, we're rather geographically isolated. And so the practice has been here 50 years and have always tried to maintain a working relationship with the community. And it's funny, this summer will be 50 years. My two longest tenured employees are 47 years each, and they both joined us right out of high school. And so if you really think about it, we took the apprenticeship program model and brought them on early on and gave them on-the-job training, and they're both up in management style roles and have been with the practice for 47 years. Dr. VK, who is the founding member of our practice, believes wholeheartedly in supporting the community. So when I took this to him, he said, but isn't that what we do anyway? I said, yes, sir, we do, but we don't take them out of high school. We take them after graduation. And we lose that 1 year, 18-month opportunity to honestly help form their education, help make them make a decision if they want to stay in this role or in this area. And he said, well, absolutely, we should do it. So we have jumped in with both feet. We have one apprentice that has Duluth that wants to go to PA school.
Mhm.
And we've already told her, great, you go to PA school, come back, we can do all your rotations with us for your requirements and we'll hire you when you get done. So it just was the right fit for us. I'm glad we jumped in. We have 7.
Yes, it's about 6 and then 7 this year.
All right, so we have 6 currently, and we've opted up for 7 next year. Slowly expanding it. Because I only work with St. Mary's County Schools, we do have opportunities that we'd like to explore in Charles County, Calvert County. I have offices in Anne Arundel County and Prince George's County. So if there was an opportunity for the medical assisting program in any of those other counties, we would certainly look at it and add on to our roles there. I think we talked last time about also including facilities as a possibility as
Right.
well.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for that, Alan. Want to move over to Charlie at Calvert Internal Medicine. You had also indicated this is a new initiative for you. What was the reason for looking into registered apprenticeship as a model for your organization? And just to note to everybody, because I don't know if we covered that, it's also in medical assisting. So a nice connection there.
Yes, thank you. Our program is through the registered side of the grid that you showed earlier. And I think the initial impetus for us to get into the program was honestly COVID and the difficulty we had, particularly with our medical assistants. It took us a while to get our program going from COVID to last September, but we've got a great partner in the College of Southern Maryland with their education pieces, and they've really worked closely with us to get that program up and running and, get it all written down and on paper and how it all kind of fits together into the apprenticeship program with the competency-based pieces for our medical assistants. They are going for the certification, which is always a plus to have that level of education and experience behind them. Much like the Shaw Group, we've been, as he mentioned, in the community, and we do try to hire from the community. All of our offices are located in Calvert County, but it is a more rural area, and people don't want to drive into the city or drive 45 minutes to go to work. So our pool of employees is somewhat limited, but it's a larger area down here, and people, they're good people, they're smart people, and we love the people that work here. Again, as with what Alan said, some of the people that work here have been here for 40 years, and they're just wonderful employees to have and wonderful people to work with. Speaking for myself, I worked here 30 some years ago, and I left and came back 3 years ago. So it's just a great place to work. We have a lot of our main business is primary care, but we have a lot of specialty also. So it gives the clinical side a great breadth of experience and enables them to get a lot of training and allows them to specialize if they want to specialize, and go the primary care route if they want to stay in primary care. So we think it's a great option for someone that wants to be a medical assistant, or again, take their education further and go the PA route or the RN route, or wherever their interests lie.
With your start last September, what is the length of time that your apprenticeship program runs, and have you had anyone successfully complete the program to date?
Well, the state requires 2,000 hours of on-the-job education. So the apprenticeship program goes a little bit over a year. The actual classroom time is a 3-month program, and then they are embedded the whole time in our practice, obviously, and doing on-the-job training with current staff that we have for the rest of the time.
Great.
Again, rotating through all of the specialties and all of the different jobs that we have here in the office.
Thank you. Bonnie, I want to ask you a question from the high school perspective and youth apprenticeship. I mean, you support a lot of occupations at your schools. What have you heard from students regarding the motivations that they've shown in participating in youth apprenticeship, and how has it impacted their learning experience?
It's interesting, and I was giving be honest, a lot of it is it's a paid apprenticeship. So we do get our students who are like, yeah, I saw I could make some money. But it's really, it's so fun to watch this because the kids are great. There are some that were just, heard it from a friend, because now we're 5 years in. So they're talking to each other and they heard it from a friend and saw the experiences that they had and the opportunities. They wanted to gain valuable job experience. Something that's a little bit different down here, and this isn't with the healthcare side so much as, we have a naval base, which a lot of students really don't know what it is or what they do or anything. It's just behind that wall and nobody really knows. So apprenticeship has been a great way for them to get in and understand everything they do. The same thing with Shaw. I mean, they've got, the kids come to our programs, they don't necessarily know what it's like to be in the real world. They watch TV, they see NCIS or they see Chicago Med, and they think this is the way, this is the way it works. So bringing them in and having them get those real world experiences helps them with their futures to figure out what careers they want to go into. And I knew you probably would mention we're going to ask this question. So we actually sent a poll out to our students.
Oh, fun.
All our apprentices, and said, what's this? What motivated you to do this? And of course, I do get the ones that said, well, it was a paid apprenticeship, it was a job, but a lot of them were to get that real world experience, to see what it's like to be in an office, and to, how am I going to continue with my career, especially with the healthcare, we have CMA students and CNA students, and those can lead, like Alan said, we've got one that wants to go to PA school. So those lead to a lot of other different careers, and these kids are getting to see what their options are, on a bigger scale than what they see in high school.
Right, absolutely. That's awesome. So I'm curious, Alan, we talked about the students coming in. This is a paid opportunity. They're interested in seeing what a healthcare occupation or healthcare setting looks like. When they come to you, what skills do they have when they come into that youth apprenticeship program with MedStar Shaw? You're muted, Alan.
Yeah, I'm muted. I'm sorry. I was just
Okay.
asking Antoinette something about getting our PA-born student over to the PA side of our program. Can you ask it again? Sorry, I apologize.
No worries. I was just, my question was, what skills do the students come to you with? And then what I didn't ask, but I'll ask now is, and then what skills do you train them in while you have them in the program?
So I have a little bit of knowledge of the skills that the kids come with when they come out of the program at the Tech Center, being that I had 2 daughters that participated in the Tech Center education program, A&P, and that type of stuff. They come well-rounded. They come with the ability that they know how to do a blood pressure. They know how to check vitals. The phlebotomy portion is not something that they may know, because that's a different tract. We do, as we go along, if they feel like they want to learn phlebotomy and we get it approved, we will certainly teach it. I have 4 labs that they can shadow and start doing sticks. They have a sense of self. They're not, they come in big-eyed, but they don't let the practice overwhelm them. And we try to foster that by making sure their mentor is a tad bit protective of them when they first get in, and can't get thrown to the wolves as the rookie, if you will. But we hope to teach them the everyday process. Part of that's coming to work every day. Part of that is long hours. Part of that is, I did this once and now the doctor's asking me to do it again because they just didn't like, for instance, the doctor, you do the blood pressure and the doctor goes, oh, that can't be right. Can you do it again? Okay, so they do it again. And then when it comes back at or close to the same thing, the physician, 1, realizes the student's competent, and 2, that, okay, we have an issue with blood pressure. So, we have a couple that have already completed all of their hours, their required hours, and they're staying on. And I take that as a little bit of a success that they want to stay on because they don't have to. And our goal is to get them through the program And honestly, if it's right, offer them all jobs when they get out. If they tell me they don't want to work here because they're going to college, absolutely go to college. Do you want to stay PRN to come back and work at Christmas? I mean, you know. Our goal is to put them out, and if they leave us and go to the bigger city because they want to experience that life, power to them. But I'm sure, as Charlotte will say, a lot of kids do that. Then they all come home later and they come back knocking on the door. They want to be rehired. And we're happy to do it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Charlie, I have a question for you, something that you brought up before and thinking about your teams and bringing on your medical assistants as apprentices. I'm curious, how have your current employees responded to having apprentices versus maybe a more traditional type of new hire? Did you have to do anything to prepare your team for having an apprentice as opposed to hiring an entry-level employee with a certification?
I think overall the response has been pretty positive. We've gotten them engaged in the training with the apprentices, particularly after, the first part, once the apprentices come back from the schooling piece of it, we've gotten the existing staff involved in their training and, keeping track of things and helping them, particularly with getting used to the providers and, how to interact with the providers and that kind of thing. And I think that really goes a long way with existing staff to show that you rely on them to help the new folks learn and engage them and that kind of thing.
That's great. Bonnie, I'm curious, one of the things I'm thinking about with the high school and all of the different occupations that you support with the youth apprenticeships, how do you work with employers to align your curriculum with the occupations that you're developing in partnership with them?
Well, in St. Mary's County, we only do apprenticeship through the Forest Center, the Tech Center. So
Okay.
our curriculums are already pretty much, they're done. And then the employer will come in, like MedStar Shaw came in, they're looking for CMAs and CNAs, and that happens to roll right into what we're already teaching.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be, until there's enough money to hire more apprenticeship coordinators, we can't expand to the other high schools, to the main high schools, because we just don't have the staff. But our employers all work within we have 21 programs here, so they all work within our the programs that we offer. And like for the Academy of Health, those kids have already been, it's a 3-year program. So before Alan gets them, they've had 2 years of one of our program. And then they will complete their 3rd year at the same time as they're working with MedStar Shaw. And the CCMA kids, that's a 2-year program. So they've completed a whole year of a program before they've even started their apprenticeship. And then they will concurrently do their related instruction and work at Shaw. And then at the end of their senior year, they will sit for their CMA certifications. And then the Academy of Health kids sit for their Certified Nursing Associate certifications.
That's great. Charlie, now that you've gotten your feet wet with CMA, is Calvert Internal Medicine thinking about other occupations for registered apprenticeship?
I guess it would be a possibility, but at this point, we really just want to get through a year of this. It's been a lot for our group to take this on.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's a lot of paperwork. It's just a lot of paperwork, really.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. I want to pivot over to Howard Community College now, because they're doing something a little different. They're not the employer of apprentices, but they are sponsors and related instruction providers in 2 healthcare occupations, LPN and Surg Tech. Jeff, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you work with employers to support healthcare apprenticeship that you sponsor?
Yeah, so we work with local hospitals, not just in Howard County, but also in Baltimore City and everywhere in between, for our LPN registered apprenticeship program and our surgical technician registered apprenticeship program. So we, as a sponsor, we were able to get the program approved through the Maryland Department of Labor. And then we also work with our employer partners to make sure that these individuals who are apprentices have the related instruction completed here on campus or virtually, and then also getting their on-the-job training at the hospital as well. So these programs are fairly new. We're entering the second year for both programs. That both started summer of 2022, around that time frame, and they have been extremely successful. We did, by we, I mean Howard Community College did build a Surge Tech lab here on campus. So the individuals, the hospitals that are partnering with us, they have their employees or the apprentices come to campus all day Tuesday or all day Thursday to get their lab work done while taking classes, their lecture virtually during the evening hours.
I know that you said it's been 2 years. What's the length of your apprenticeship programs, and have you had any completers, any success stories you can share?
Yeah, definitely. So our Surge Tech program is a year. It was 13 months, but we were able to change it down to 12 months. I think the employers kind of like the simplicity of it being 12 months. That one, we have some completers through University of Maryland Medical System and some Johns Hopkins hospitals as well. And they're working as Surge Techs right now, and they have finished all of their on-the-job training and their coursework as well. And they're getting ready to sit for the NCCT exam, which will certify them to be surgical technicians at the national level. So that's very exciting. And we are currently, we have a MedStar group who is about 3 months in to their Surge Tech cohort. And that's going extremely well, so well that we're doing another MedStar cohort here in a few months because there is such a need for that industry. As well as Johns Hopkins, they're getting ready to do another cohort later this summer or early this upcoming fall. So that program has been very, very successful. And the students really like the fact that it's hands-on training here on campus because they really get to have that community feel of going to class, coming to campus, being here all day, going to the library, using our services that we offer here at the community college. So that one has been really, really great. We're very fortunate to have 2 of our Surge Tech apprentices win the coveted Apprentice of the Year award through the Maryland Department of Labor. So we were very proud and very excited for our apprentices and our employer partners that they were able to win that award. Our LPN program, it's not as straightforward because we have students coming in from different academic backgrounds with different credit completed already. You know, our Surge Tech program, it's kind of a start and finish. There's no transfer credit available for the Surge Tech program, but for LPN, these apprentices have different academic backgrounds. So a lot of the coursework might already be done. So that program is between 1 and 3 years, depending on where they are in their academic journey. But we do our best to try to make them, those who don't have a lot of credit already built up, that they get that coursework done as quickly as possible so they can become licensed practical nurses. And the beauty about that program is that is just a very early stage of a nursing career, because then they can use their LPN credit and their experience to become a registered nurse and then get their bachelor's degree in nursing and master's. So that one is really great and exciting. It takes a little bit longer for the coursework and the on-the-job training to be completed. But just like many registered apprenticeship programs, each one has its own challenges and its own advantages and different lengths of time.
One of the things that you shared with me, which I thought was pretty incredible, is the wait list that you have for these programs. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen from a sort of the individual demand side for an apprenticeship enrolling in these programs, because they're readily available at your school or other schools?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's our marketing department is almost too good here at Howard Community College. We promote our registered apprenticeship programs a lot, and a lot of people are very, very much interested in these programs because, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. They love the idea of having their education paid for, getting paid, getting that job, on-the-job experience while getting their education and getting their credentials. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, but really for the apprentices, and they're going to be graduating and getting their credentials without any student debt. So, but one of the problems that we face is that an apprenticeship program doesn't exist without an employer, and we can't just magically make jobs appear out of thin air. So we have too many folks interested in our programs, and we just don't have enough spaces for them, which is unfortunate because, we're a community college. The whole model is that it's open entry for all, but we are limited when it comes to registered apprenticeship programs because of that employer aspect. So, for example, our surgical tech program, in the last year and a half, we have well over 150 people on a wait list, essentially, who are interested in the program. And it's unfortunate when they call and they say, hey, I'm interested in this. Can I apply for it? And right now the application is not open because there's just not enough space available for them. And our employers who we partner with are amazing, and it's great. And we fill that classroom, but we are limited in that aspect. And we also have folks who are doing the LPN program as traditional students, and they see that they're already working and they're already going to school. So it's kind of a no-brainer for them that they want to become an LPN apprentice, but the hospital that they work for may not be signed up to be a registered apprenticeship partner. So that's a challenge as well. And adding new partners and getting hospitals on board, it's like moving a mountain. It's not just one person's decision. There's a lot of people that have to be on board. So we're moving in the right direction, but it just takes time. And I tend to be impatient, so I really want this to happen a lot faster than it traditionally should work.
So it makes me wonder, what's your capacity for expansion then? You know, if we have employers on the call that are saying, yeah, I need surge tech people, I need LPNs.
Yeah.
What can you bring on new partners? Do you have the capacity to expand?
Absolutely. So in the two different categories, I also want to do a quick shout out to biomedical equipment technology. We have that program as well. I know that's not traditional healthcare, but it kind of is as well. So in that program and licensed practical nurse, I mean, we really, there's infinite spaces available because there's a lot of classroom space available. There's a lot of this coursework is done online. So that opens up a lot of doors. So if you're a hospital and you're interested in licensed practical nurse, that's something that is more doable because we're not limited by classroom space. Unfortunately, with surge tech, we are limited by space because our surge tech lab can fit a maximum of about 12 to 15 students per day. And there's really 5 days a week. If you include Saturday, there's a 6th day. So we are limited in that regard, but we have seen the interest and the need for it. So I think there's, conversations of behind the scenes over at the community college of how we can expand that because unfortunately we are limited by physical space.
So do you have any advice for employers on the call that may not be within the Howard County region, but have a community college that they've worked with or want to work with? Any suggestions for how they start this conversation with their community college?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would look at your local community college and not just the one that's local, but maybe the one that's in, regional as well. Because especially if you have employees who work at your hospital, but they live in a different county, they commute, there's always opportunities there as well. I would look in their continuing education or workforce development page on their website and see what registered apprenticeship programs that they have, because you might be surprised what programs that they already have that already exist. And when that happens, joining as an employer partner is usually pretty easy and pretty quick. There's just a little bit of paperwork that needs to be filled out. But hopefully the person who has my role can help you with that paperwork, and then you can sign up and start getting apprentices right away. If that apprenticeship program doesn't exist at that community college, it is something that will need to be developed. So you would work with your local workforce board, if you're in Maryland, the Maryland Department of Labor. If a different state, it would be a different that state Department of Labor. And then that would be a registered apprenticeship program would be developed. That does take a little bit more time, but I think one of the advantages as an employer working with a community college who is the sponsor is that myself and my team, we do a lot of that paperwork, get a lot of that behind the scenes work done that could be very frustrating and a lot of very tedious. It is a science that we've become masters of. So that would be my recommendation, and try to find someone like me who can talk to you about that program. But I also think it's important for an employer to kind of have realistic expectations because it is an investment. You're going to be hiring folks with little to no experience. That's the whole idea behind an apprenticeship program. You will be paying for their related instruction, but you're going to be getting folks who are going to be going through a program without accruing any student debt. They're going to have the flexibility and freedom to be really devoted to that job and devoted to that employer. And there are so many funding opportunities to help offset these costs that, we on my team, one of the things that we really take a priority of is finding ways to reduce the cost for the employers. And there's so many grants, so many different ways that we can use funding to help offset the cost of the related instruction or even wages.
That's great. It's a great partnership. So I thank you, Jeff. I think it's a good time to bring in our Department of Labor perspective and have Logan speak a little bit about how they support this process. When we talk about healthcare, we looked at those charts earlier on, where 2% of the total apprentices in Maryland, like 200 out of 11,000 in healthcare. There's all these opportunities for expansion and development. Talk a little bit, Logan, about how your office and your navigators support this work and support employers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, apprenticeship, the tradition of apprenticeship is kind of in the building trades and construction. And a lot of people, when they think of apprenticeship and they hear that word, the first thing they think about is electricians and steam fitters and sheet metal workers and, the kind of traditional trades. Healthcare, and as you saw, is a growing sector for apprenticeship. But one of the things we run into a lot is just kind of not understanding how what already happens in the healthcare industry matches up with what apprenticeship can offer. A lot of the pieces are already compatible. Most of these occupations, they already have a clinical portion where, you know, a student has to learn on the job and get on the job experience to get their license or certification. That 100% ties into what apprenticeship offers. So a lot of what our staff can do is kind of help, you know, hear what occupations you're looking at, what needs your business has, what are your workforce issues, and then translate some of that into kind of the apprenticeship terminology and the standards that are built into our programs. So you don't have to come in as an expert. You don't have to come in knowing every piece of regulation and every license and how everything fits together. That's really what our role is. So our team can, you know, do kind of a quick assessment, meet with your business, hear what some of your issues are, and then point you to some of the resources that are already out there. So Jeff gave a great plug for what we call group programs. So a group program is you have a sponsoring entity that is kind of managing the day-to-day, the logistics, the paperwork of the program, and you have employers who are signed on to have those apprentices. So if there's an existing group program in your area, our staff knows their areas very, very well. And so they can see, you know, oh, maybe it's not a good fit for you all to try to build something from scratch. Let's connect you with the community college program in your area. Hey, you have a really, you know, your business has a passion about engaging young people, engaging youth. Your occupation is a great fit for a young person. Let's connect you with your local schools and have you explore the youth apprenticeship program. That's really where we kind of fit in to facilitate a lot of those conversations. And then, of course, to work out some of those more complicated pieces, like how does this work with licensing? How is this going to fit with some of the, you know, the work hours and limitations that are placed on a student? We're really there to navigate you through some of those more difficult pieces that might not be intuitive as an industry that's not, you know, well versed and accustomed to apprenticeship all the time.
That's helpful. You talked about the registered component and the youth component. How can businesses connect with the youth component for apprenticeship? Is the starting point their high school? Is the starting point Department of Labor? What's your recommendation for next steps on the youth apprenticeship side?
I mean, really, there's no wrong door when it comes to apprenticeship. I mean, there's a lot of different teams on this call. There's our staff, you have local workforce board staff here, you have community colleges here, you have the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector here. Really, any person that you come to that's in this apprenticeship world now will be able to kind of give you a sense of what the different options are for you. And at some point, you're going to get connected to someone on our team, and then we will kind of be able to direct you to what might be a good fit. If you come through the door for youth and you say, hey, I want to work with students, and then we do a little bit more research and we figure out it's not going to be a fit, we can make another recommendation for you. If you already run a full adult program, like a registered apprenticeship program that's geared for, you know, adult job seekers, adult workers, we can look and see how does that tie together with what's offered for youth and what's offered at your local schools. St. Mary's County gave a great example of their youth program is based out of their technical high school. So there's a huge amount of curriculum, a huge amount of instruction that's already available to those students, and it's already built into, you know, a pathway for them. So if your business is interested in working with youth, we can tie you directly into what your high schools might be offering. But if that's not available in your area, we can explore a community college option. If you're already hosting a training program, you can use your existing curriculum for your training program, build that in. So really, I mean, it just kind of starts with reaching out to whoever your kind of workforce contact is. Like I said, if it's your local board, if that's MAC, if it's your community college, and this is one big statewide team. So at some point, you're going to end up, you know, in touch with one of us at the Department of Labor, one of our navigator staff, and we can really help you connect any of those missing pieces that are there. But it is absolutely, it's not an either or when it comes to apprenticeship. You don't have to go all in on youth or all in on adult. There's lots of ways to kind of cross-pollinate between the two, to mix together different forms of instruction, because the real priority is getting anyone who wants to work connected with that job, getting them connected with that training opportunity, and we're here to make sure you can make that connection for them.
I love that. I love the no wrong door. And we had a great experience working with an employer recently that helped sort of maybe give them the foundation for what all of this looks like. And then they connected with Department of Labor. Their application was done within a week and are, you know, going forward in March for approval. So it's definitely a team across all of these entities, and happy to be a part of that through the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector as well. I'm gonna just do one last question for the panel, and then we'll go into Q&A. So just an open question to the group, those that are involved with either youth or registered apprenticeship. What advice would you offer companies that are considering either to get started? Alan, do you have any thoughts or advice on that?
Yeah, so jump in. You really can't go wrong. Because if you think about it, the youth that you're dealing with today are your employees of tomorrow. They're the ones that are going to use your business. You're always looking for staff. In today's day and age, you're always looking for staff, especially if it's on-site staff. And I would just jump in. Start with one apprentice. I mean, Antoinette and I talked about that. Do we want to do one the first year and not do? So no, of course, we did it our way. We did 6. So, but do one. And if it works, do another. What do you have to lose? I mean, let's be honest. You're giving back to the youth, and they're the adults that'll use your facilities and your employees of the future. And I think it's a great way to give back to the community. And us in healthcare, that's kind of what we're here for. So I would just say jump in and get it done.
Awesome. Charlie, any thoughts on that from you?
No, I agree wholeheartedly with Alan. Jump in. We are also kind of going slow. We had 2 apprentices in our first cohort with the fall semester, and we've got 1 apprentice with the spring semester. So we are also kind of going slow, and I think that's working well for us. So I agree. Just jump in and start building your program.
Awesome. Jeff, since you are sponsors, I'll include you in this mix. Any words of advice?
Yeah, no, I mean, selfishly, I work with your community college with this. It's an endeavor to take on by yourself. And I think one of the great advantages of having the community college being the sponsor is that, I have several people on my team who are devoted specifically just to the apprentices to make sure that they're meeting their academic and professional goals. As an employer who is also the sponsor, it might just be, okay, they'll go to the local school, they'll get their training at the community college will take care of them, and they'll come back. And of course that'll be the case, but we have folks here who are devoted in doing check-ins and helping them with their registration, helping the employers find grant and cost saving measures. So I think there's just a huge advantage if you're working with a community college when it comes to starting an apprenticeship program, as opposed to having all of that work being on the shoulders of the employer. Also, utilize the experience and the knowledge of your local workforce boards. The Maryland Department of Labor, they are filled with some incredible people who really know this stuff inside and out. So I just would hate for someone to kind of go on this endeavor of starting an apprenticeship program on their own when there are just dozens of people who are local who can really help you be successful. So that would be my words of advice if you're considering starting this program or an apprenticeship program.
That's great. Thank you so much. Well, I just want to thank all of you for participating on our panel today. I know that we're probably going to have some good questions come through, and I'm going to kick it over to Greg to facilitate the Q&A component.
Well, Patricia, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask my own question, and maybe like with a predicate to the group. So yesterday afternoon, the Brookings Institute held a webinar on work and learn opportunities, and they had success stories they brought forward from Colorado, Alabama, and Indiana. And for those of you that weren't aware of this webinar, I would encourage you to go watch it because I thought it was really interesting and fascinating. And they talked about the infrastructure that has to be in place and how the ecosystem has to operate to really accelerate adoption and scaling. So I thought the webinar was fantastic, but it also brought me back to the conversations we have with Department of Education and Department of Labor and how Maryland wants to be a leading state in the country, #1, in adoption and scaling of apprenticeship programming, in particular with youth. And so, 1, I point you to the webinar, but 2, a question to the group. What do you think we could put in place? And I say we collectively, from the state agencies to the educational providers, to the employers, to even intermediaries. What is the missing piece or pieces that might help us start to double and triple adoption year over year for the next 5 years? I'm asking for a little bit of reflection, but also a chance, an offer to be honest to the group and see what we can do collectively to really help scale these programs. So thank you, Logan, for biting on this.
I can go first because I'm very passionate about my answer to this question, which is just the modernization of the way that a lot of state agencies do business. Governor Morris talked a lot about this and, the future of Maryland and how do we be competitive, how do we be successful? And it really comes down to, we need to modernize our systems. We need to modernize our staff. That includes some of the things like partnership, but it also includes some of the things like our IT systems. So a big push right now within the Department of Labor is improving our data systems, improving our IT infrastructure so we can support a growing apprenticeship network. So we can remove some of that paperwork that's out there, some of the forms, some of the documents, the applications that get submitted, just streamline that as much as possible. And so we're expecting in the next 2 years to really have like a much better, much improved system to do that. Because as Charlotte mentioned, there's a lot of paperwork that goes with apprenticeship, and there's a lot of little pieces to keep track of. So I think that modernization is going to be a big piece to making sure everyone can be successful and have the information that they need.
Fantastic. Patricia, do you want me to push it over to Madupe?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so this was very, very helpful for everyone. I'm Madupe Savage. I work for MedStar Health. And right now I'm developing kind of like a large scale proposal for our organization for registered apprenticeships with different pathways. And I think one of the things that is a potential barrier, especially as an employer-sponsored apprenticeship program, is the cost, right? So I'm trying to build a solid business case as to, we know the value of the apprentices, but with an employer-sponsored, the upfront costs based on the number of apprentices you have could be daunting. And I struggle with finding information about support grants like this early in the journey that could offset some of our costs. That would be very helpful for me to be able to include in the proposal and make it more attractive. And I've been at this for just, about a couple of months now, trying to figure out the best ROI for some of these programs. But if I could get that information, I feel like I'll have a really compelling proposal to go large scale on apprenticeship program. And just so you know, there are costs that we can't offset. So we know we need personnel behind the scenes to drive these programs and make them successful. So we're willing to do those costs, but if we could get some other costs like the cost of instruction offset and get that information early to build that proposal, that would be so helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that. I have comments coming from your comment, but Bonnie, I think you're up next.
Just back to your question where you asked what can be done collectively. I just want to mention one thing that I know registered apprentice is where most of you seem to be coming from. And yes, that is a lot of work and a lot of paperwork, but youth apprenticeship is one form. So if you're interested in working with your local high school, I'm in meetings with all of the counties. We all have apprenticeship coordinators. We are all there to support. I know in our county, there's 3 of us, and those students are supported from the time they apply through the application process, through the apprenticeship. We don't just send them to you for 450 hours and say, good luck, see you at the end of the year. We're with them, we're meeting with them at least once a quarter and supporting the business throughout the entire thing. So youth apprenticeship is much easier to get involved with if you wanted to start that way. And I believe most of the counties work the way we do, where we're supporting our students throughout the entire thing, and we're not leaving the employer on their own to deal with that. The only other way to help us is funding for the school system so we can hire more staff. Our program, we can grow. We have students that are interested. We need more employers. I think everyone's in the same boat. We all need to get more employers on board, but we could definitely grow our apprenticeship program if we had more employers and more staff. The students are here.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'd like to echo the just jump in comment from earlier. So Health Tech Alley recently went through the youth apprenticeship registration process. And just as you said, it was easy to do. We worked with our navigator, we worked with our local school system. We're here in Howard County. We put forward a business analytics and data science program. It went through Maryland DOL pretty easily and through the Maryland Apprenticeship and Technical Council. It was really an easy process and looking forward to getting that program going. So yes, please just jump in. have your experience would be my echoing comment. I don't see any questions coming through, but I do have another question I can throw to the group. So back to the Brookings Institute webinar from yesterday. There was a lot of discussion just to the commentary here about how to accelerate adoption with employers. And in particular, the program from Alabama, they talked about presenting or building business cases that could speak to an HR executive, a CFO, and a line management executive. So these are the people inside of employers that you really need to convince that these programs can work. So I'm curious, one, if anybody has really thought through that in Modupe. That sounds like the business case you're trying to build for MedStar. I think a lot about this too. I am former American Express, Deloitte Consulting, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we were large employers. And presenting those business cases to executives can go a long way to employer adoption. So I guess it's a commentary to the group, but also a potential tease that maybe that's something this ecosystem can coalesce around. And obviously using data to do that. So if anybody has any comments on that, I would welcome it because it really does speak to me. Any comments? Employer business cases to do youth and adult apprenticeship programming. Do we need that? I think we do.
Definitely see
Okay.
some head nodding from the
Patricia,
Mac folks.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I definitely see head nodding from the Mac folks on the business case and getting those case studies together. I will say that Lucy had a question about her organization being able to participate. Lucy, if you're still with us, can you share your question with the group?
Sure, I'm happy to. I just wondered if, it looks like most of you all are hospitals on this. We're a federally qualified health center. So I wondered if it's something that we could participate in. Thank you. I like all the head nods.
Yeah, I'll
Yes,
say
of course you can.
100%. Yep. Any employer can participate. And Jeff actually made a comment earlier, if you're in another state working with another department, registered apprenticeship, the adult side actually crosses state lines. We are a federally delegated agency here in Maryland. So even if your business is in Delaware, Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Florida, Alaska, you can register for apprenticeship in Maryland through the Department of Labor here. So yeah, please, any kind of business, any kind of entity can participate.
Thank you.
Those are all
Edna
the questions.
Primrose?
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead, Edna.
Hi, I'm Edna Primrose. I'm with the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector. And I just wanted to say, as far as the business case goes, this is a great example where you can use success stories to make the case. Even how we had our champions on this webinar today, it may be possible to connect the folks that you're going to be presenting to, Modupe, with folks who are doing it right now. The other piece is that the Maryland Apprenticeship Connector can help you with some of that research and putting those things together. Our name is Maryland Apprenticeship Connector, so we're sort of the bridge between high schools, community colleges, and employers. And we know that it takes a lot of legwork sometimes to get this started, and we can help to ease that. We've been meeting with workforce boards, we've been meeting with the high schools, and I'm so glad to see all of my high school peeps on this webinar. We've been meeting with community colleges, employers. It's really been interesting to create this ecosystem. And, I also want to mention that there's a lot of intentionality between the Maryland State Department of Education and Department of Labor to create that cohesive ecosystem while we're building it. So just keep us in mind if you need some help. We're glad to be an extension to help you with some of the administrative pieces, and as well as, again, those areas where you might need to make the case or need a presentation or need some research. That's what we're here for. So there's about, 10 or 12 of us, and we all have different territories. So many of the areas in my territory are represented here on the webinar. And we're just here to help.
Very well put. Thank you, Edna. Greg, did you have any other questions that you wanted to bring?
I do not, and I don't see any in the chat.
Well, taking copious notes, and definitely want to get back to individual commenters on the questions that were brought up today. So you can definitely expect some follow-up from our group. As Edna said, we're here to make these connections and are a free resource. So take advantage of us while we are here to support your curiosity, your interest, and the research that you need to make these business cases to explore and expand, whether it's a youth or registered apprenticeship. I just want to invite Tracy from Maryland State Department of Education to provide us with some comments as we close out our conversation today.
Thanks, Patricia. Thank you, everyone. Again, I'm Tracy Kittle. I serve as the Director of Apprenticeships and Industry Recognized Credentials here at the Maryland State Department of Education. Mac has done a really great job today, bringing together folks and asking questions that are really illuminating how big and wonderful and impactful that this giant group project is that we are doing in developing apprenticeships. There were a few pieces of notes that I took that really set out to me in today's conversation that I just wanted to highlight. First, just wanted to appreciate Mac for focusing on Southern Maryland. We cannot achieve our blueprint goals, and we will not be able to build talent pipelines if we are not being inclusive of the unique structures within each region of Maryland, right? This is not called Apprenticeship Anne Arundel County. This is not being called Apprenticeship Central Maryland for a reason, right? All means all. More means more. And so just really appreciate the focus on Southern Maryland. Alan, you had some tremendous anecdotes that you shared that gave us just some really powerful examples of the retention advantage of this model and really the value out of our students. So I want to thank you for that. And I know that Charlotte had to bounce, but she really talked about this piece around related instruction, which I can emphasize a little more, which is that related instruction can come from the community college, from the agency itself, providing the on-job training, or from our high schools. And students are scheduled for an apprenticeship class or on-job training. And so employers have a lot of variety in where they want to see that related instruction offered. So I thought she did a great job of talking about the related instruction and how she's incorporated our young people into her practice. Jeff, your flexibility, I think talking about the role that a community college plays in being that warm handoff to this work was really powerful. And Bonnie, your point with Madupe, really youth apprenticeship offers that flexibility when you're worried about your budget, right? So you have students who, I had someone come, I was in Worcester last week with Diane and her team, and I had someone approach me and say, we only have a budget to hire someone for 5 hours a week. Like, does that work? And it's like, that's great, because we probably have students who are 3-sport athletes and they also can only work 5 hours a week. And so how, during the school year, and then they can pick up hours over the summer. So there really is a matchmaking process to this. And that's why there's so many people coming together to find that fit. And so really, again, just want to thank you all for coming out and really representing what it means to be a Marylander, to live here, to educate here, to have businesses here. And the power that apprenticeship is going to have as sort of the solution to build talent pipelines, especially for high demand careers. And so again, thank you all as our presenters for being staples to this work, and just would leave you with a message that I also shared in Worcester County last week, which is to really have everyone on this call leave today thinking about the journey that you've had to your own career, and about the people or the person who might have taken a chance on you, right? That none of us kind of got here on our own. It could have been a teacher, a former supervisor, a parent who went sort of above and beyond to mentor us. We all have that person, and that's really incorporated and built upon our own legacy. And this is going to really build on Maryland's legacy as a result. And Alan, I think you spoke to that when you really talked about your employers who've been with you for 40 plus years, because I always say you cannot over strategize for relationships. Someone is there for 40 years because of a relationship and because of an investment that you made in them. And I think that that's a really powerful testament. So Greg, I will turn things over to you. I don't know if you guys have links or next steps But I've really appreciated being here with you all.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Greg, do you want to make some closing comments?
Oh, thank you, Tracy. Thanks, Patricia. This has been a fantastic event. Thank you all for showing up, listening to us, and helping us reflect on what we can do to better the program and scale it going into the upcoming years. We're going to try to do a few of these, I think, over the coming year, specific to healthcare. So please stay with us and reach out to us anytime for any kind of help you need. We're here for you.
We will be sharing the presentation and the recording to everybody who's registered and everybody who's on the call today. So you will have follow-up information. I put Greg and my information in the chat. I know Logan put his as well. Feel free to reach out to us. Edna couldn't have stated it any better. We are here to support this work, and we're here to be a resource and have the capacity to be that research arm, to be that presenter arm, to be somebody that you just want to bounce ideas off of. That's what our role is, and we're very, very, very happy to help. So thank you all. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.